Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and I hope all of you are having a wonderful day because today on the program, well, it's Friday. We can sit back, relax, because, hey, the workday is almost over, and you made it through another week. Congratulations. It's been a busy week, but we made it through, just looking fine and doing fine. So let's see, a couple of things here. So, of course, today on the program is our usual Mr. Ralph Bond, and he is our science and technology trends correspondent. So if you wanted to, have a pick-me-up or feel like, hey, maybe the future of technology isn't all about spying and, ruin and dismay and sadness, well, this is going to be the show for you because Ralph really does a good job of highlighting, first story excluded, but does a good job of highlighting, some of the better aspects of technology and what it can do for the world. So, be ready for a whole hour of that. And let's see, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find the show notes and a link to the show notes so that you can follow along with us or check out the articles if you feel, if you feel the urge or you want to check up on yourself, there you go. And hey, sometimes we mispronounce names so horribly, you are forced to go to the article to actually get the researcher's name. So there's that. Also be sure to check out the Computer America contest brought to you by Logitech and check out the video portion of Computer America brought to you by OWC. So all that and more. And yes, according to our chat, Ralph is not just the usual. He is, in fact, a terrific guest. So important distinction to be had there. So why don't we go ahead and bring him on and get this party started. Ralph, welcome back onto Computer America. Again, computer science, computer and technology trends, and of course, longtime Computer America correspondent. Ralph, how you been?
Oh, great. And boy, you're so right about mispronouncing things and so forth. That's another reason, listeners, get the show notes that Ben was talking about. Please go download those because some of the names I know I'll butcher and so forth. So it's really helpful to have the show notes. You got pictures, we have links to videos, all kinds of fun stuff, as you'll see. And it just enhances the whole thing. And last but not least, as Ben will tell you, we almost never fully cover all the 10 stories I pull together, so you can look at the show notes as a fun little reading assignment to carry on with the activity that we probably won't be able to cover in the 1 hour we're with you today.
That's very true, very true. So, in that thought, with that thought, why don't we go ahead and just jump right into it? Because and I guess warning for anyone out there watching the video, we're about to open up the show notes. Yeah, we hope that you like spiders, and we hope that you like, kind of older spiders. So this happened a little while ago, and it saddened people who didn't even know this thing existed.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This comes from Newser. That's the name of the outlet, Newser, a story by Josh Gardner. And the headline grabbed me right away. Oldest known spider killed by a wasp at age, get ready, age 43. What?
It was sad.
So far, as you'll find out in the article, it's thought to be the oldest, at least documented spider that we know of to date. And it's just something to really imagine. But anyway, let's get into the story here. It says the world's oldest known spider was killed after living to the ripe old age of 43. Per Fox News, the female trapdoor spider was killed by a parasitic wasp in October of just this past October, after she was studied by scientists starting at her birth in 1974. I mean, just
that's impressive.
Isn't that impressive? That just blows my mind. The findings were published in a study in Pacific Conservation Biology Journal per a statement from Curtin, that's C-U-R-T-I-N, Curtin University in Western Australia. According to phys, that's phys.org, phys.org, researchers believe the spiders can survive so long in the Australian outback thanks to their slow metabolism, distance from humans, and sedentary nature. So these guys don't exactly do jumping jacks every day.
Right.
Dubbed number 16 by the study, this particular female lived her entire life in a single burrow that was extremely close to the place of her birth. Per the Curtin University press release, number 16 outlived the previous record holder, a captive tarantula in Mexico, by some 13 years. So there are other people out there tracking old spiders. It's kind of fun to find that out. And here comes a quote from one of the researchers. It says, "To our knowledge, this is the oldest spider ever recorded, and her significant life has allowed us to further investigate the trapdoor spider's behavior and population dynamics," lead author Leanda Mason said in the press release, or in the statement. Now it goes on to say the spider's death not only breaks the record for the world's oldest spider, but also demonstrates that long-term research is essential to understand how different species live in the Australian environment, the press release said. The study, now here's the title of the study if you're so inclined to go out and look at it. And in the show notes, we have a link where you can go and see the study. The longest lived spider, megalomorphs, I think I'm pronouncing that right, megalomorphs dig deep and persevere, pardon me, that's the title. You can read the whole thing with the link that we provided. And by the way, megalomorphs are a large spider, a group of spiders that includes tarantulas. I think we're more, in North America, of course, we're much more familiar with tarantulas, right?
Right.
And other funnel web spiders, so spiders that develop funnel webs, and maybe you've seen them in your lawns and so forth. And megalomorphs have several primitive features, including fangs that stab downwards. So if you look at the picture, you'll see the fangs in the front. They're kind of curved and they penetrate downward rather than toward one another in a pincer-like move. So that's one of the things that defines these megalomorphs. But I couldn't resist the story. Old spider, kind of creepy. Not as creepy as the next story, but kind of fun.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, and I've met people like this where they have pet tarantulas, and
Yes.
you know, and you always see them in the movies, and those are usually quote unquote trained tarantulas, and it's like they don't get the warm and fuzzy feeling of, like, let's say a puppy would, but some people form the same kind of association, and I'm sure that 43 years later, first of all, I didn't even know that arachnids could live that long.
Yes.
So very impressive, but yeah, I mean, so did they say, let's see. So they know that number 16 was the previous one, and it outlived it by 13 years. I wonder what the next oldest spider is. And
well, you're right, Ben. You have to step back and think, well, they've documented this particular spider starting in 1974.
Who was in second place, right?
Well, yeah, and then there were some other researchers that have been documenting a long-lived spider in Mexico, fine. But it does make you step back and think, in the Australian outback, just to use where this spider was from, maybe there's some spiders out there that are much older. Who knows, right? It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, and you know, even more to that, science, as we see, it's not, you know, it's not a very quick process. It's not like you can cut these spiders open and count the rings. It's more about you know, hey, you with these spiders, you have to kind of watch them for 40 plus years to see how long they live. It's a lot to learn, even about basic things.
Yeah, and here's what to think about. If number 16, the 43-year-old spider, is so important, right, to these researchers, very important. How in the heck did it come to pass that a wasp was able to get to this thing and kill it? You would think they would have caged it off or done something, but maybe it was in a au natural situation, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's something to think about. And of course, you know, wasps, there are wasps that do go after spiders, and that's their source. They'll lay their eggs into the carcass. You know, it's rather gross, but that's all part of that process of the life cycle.
Yeah, and hey, 43 years, nothing to sneeze at. So rest in peace, number 16. You will be missed if you miss spiders. So with that being said, let's move move from animals to animals. And like you said, story number 2, this is why anyone out there checking out the title of the show, that's why we put Immortal Pigs, and was able to snag that picture from Adventure Time. But Immortal Pigs, and I feel like this is what they're researching. They're researching a form of immortality. So
yeah,
story number 2.
Yeah, story number 2. It's a long story, so we're going to invest some time in it. But I thought it was, of course, kind of creepy and weird and very sci-fi sounding. It's from BBC News, a story by a fellow named Palab Ghosh, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who's a science correspondent for the BBC. And the headline is, Ethics Debate as Pig Brains Kept Alive Without a Body. And this story is, wow, I mean, this has so many layers of implications and problems for ethics and on and on and on. But let's go ahead and get into it here. Researchers at Yale University have restored circulation to the brains of decapitated pigs, poor piggies, and kept the organs alive for several hours. Now, as I said before, it's a long story, but I think this is worth our investment of time. So here we go. It says their aim is to develop a way of studying intact human brains in the lab for medical research. So it's a noble goal, but ghoulish process. Although there is no evidence that the animals were aware, there is concern that some degree of consciousness might have remained. Details of the study were presented at a brain science ethics meeting held at the National Institute of Health in Bethesda in Maryland on the 28th of March. So this story is, a bit,
Right.
Fairly recent. But at any rate, the research has also been reported on this week at the MIT Technology Review. And this story, by the way, was posted very late in April. The work by Professor Nenad, N-E-N-A-D, Sestan, S-E-S-T-A-N, of Yale University was discussed as part of an NIH investigation of ethical issues arising from neuroscience research in the United States. Wow. Now, this next part is mind-blowing.
And part of me thinks this might be a way to, of course, harvest bacon without harming the pig. If you dull the senses, and you can take the pig's body and leave the pig's brain, and the pig's happy. No, it's okay. So it doesn't work like that. Okay, got it. So, and it's one of those things where it's like ethically, harvesting animals for livestock, and yes, we eat pigs all the time. We eat many pigs, but I guess there is that idea of what's unduly suffering just for the sake of watching something suffer, so we might learn from it.
Well, yeah, and it's what a great trade-off. Before we go further in the story, you're right. I mean, if you think of like the fulcrum of justice, I mean, is the research more important than the possibility that these poor little animals might retain some level of consciousness and be terrified as a result?
Right.
As you weigh that on one side of the scale against the possible medical research benefits, and it's a toughie.
And of course, I took in college for a gen ed course, I took Psych 101, so I'm an expert. And and like that was before there was an ethics board. You could pretty much do anything you wanted if you said it was for science. And while that led to many horrific stories, it also led to a lot of research and a lot of advancement that they're still learning from today. They're still poring over the data that they collected. Like if you lock a kid in a room for 8 years with no human contact, how's he going to come out the other side? Obviously, never be allowed to do that nowadays, but it used to happen. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it is. This article is really deep in that way in terms of just making you step back and think, here we are at this crossroads with technology and medical science and so forth that's presenting this very vexing problem. But going on with the story, says Professor Sestan explained that he and his team experimented on more than 100 pig brains. Wow. They discovered that they could restore their circulation by using a system of pumps, heaters, and bags of artificial blood. Ooh, Dr. Frankenstein. As a result, the researchers were reportedly able to keep the cells in the brain alive and capable of normal activity for as long as 36 hours. So it wasn't indefinite, obviously, but it's still a kind of an astonishing achievement. Professor Sestan is said to have described the result as mind-boggling. No kidding. If this could be repeated with human brains, researchers would be able to use them to test out new treatments for neurological disorders. I would suggest that pig brains and human brains are probably closer than we'd ever really want to admit, given the behavior of people nowadays. But that's an editorial comment on my part that I'll leave over here.
Of course.
Goes on to say, but Professor Sestan is among the first to raise potential ethical concerns. So to their credit, this professor and his team are raising their hands saying, hey, we were able to do this, but we get it, that raises ethical concerns. These include whether such brains have any consciousness, and if so, deserves special protection, or whether their technique could or should be used by individuals to extend their lifespans. Here's where the sci-fi part comes in, by transplanting their brains when their bodies wear out. Wow. Okay. I mean, this is getting ahead of the game
why,
technologically.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I guess that's why I kind of alluded to the fact that this was, in some way, a search for immortality. Because how many times have we seen where there was a, not Shutter Island, the thing where they were cloning celebrities and they could just, Yeah, so same deal, but hey, you got to start somewhere, and I guess that's with 100 pigs. So,
yeah, it's just, this one really sinks in. So here's some more coming up here in a commentary published in the journal Nature. So Nature's the name of the journal. Okay, the journal Nature this week. Again, this was published in late April. Professor Sestan and 15 other leading U.S. neuroscientists called for clear regulation to guide them in their work. And there's a couple quotes here I'll share with you. Quote, if researchers could create brain tissue in the laboratory that might appear to have conscious experiences or subjective phenomenal states, would that tissue deserve any of the protections routinely given to human or animal research subjects? The researchers asked in the commentary. Quote goes on, this question might seem outlandish. Certainly today's experimental models are far from having such capabilities, but various models are now being developed to better understand the human brain, including miniaturized, simplified versions of brain tissue grown in a dish from stem cells, and advances keep being made. Now, there's a section, if you go to the show notes, there's a section where you can get some links to some other related research things. I'm going to pop over that for the sake of time and pick up here where it says, Professor Colin Blakemore of the School of Advanced Study at the University of London backs the research team's call for a public debate on the issue. Quote, the techniques, even to the researcher, sound pretty ghoulish. It is very, very important that there should be a public discussion about this, and not least because the researchers who have some investment can tell the public why it would be so important to develop such techniques, he told the BBC News team. Quote goes on, there's a paradox here, and that is the better such methods are at maintaining a whole brain fully functional, but without connection to the body, the more useful that would be for research purposes. But the more likely it would also be for the brain to have some sentience and consciousness, which would be deeply worrying. Jeez, no kidding. Professor Blakemore, we're almost done here now. Professor Blakemore said that he was, quote, very uneasy about the quest for immortality by those considering preserving their brains until surgery advances in order to place them in a new body. And there's a closing quote from him. It says, our planet is already overpopulated. You need space for young people and new ideas, and the notion of desperately clinging on to any mechanism possible for human beings to live forever, I find very unsavory. And I think that's probably most listeners would agree. I don't know. It's all very weird.
But I don't. I really don't. I mean, obviously, in the coming decades, there's going to be a huge population increase when third world countries start to come up, and advances in medicine and advances in standard of living, where it happens to everyone. Where I think they project another couple billion in Africa and even more.
Gosh, yeah.
Like, But that happens only for so long. And then after that, just like we have in the United States, just like anywhere else in the first world country, you have a population rate that's actually lower than keeping, kind of
Well,
level.
that's true. And Japan's going through that right now.
Japan, United States, Germany is actually worse than Japan. I know Japan is thrown out there, but Germany's actually worse than them. It happens all over. So what happens when, think of a world where it's possible, everyone has that level of standard of living, and everyone just kind of has one kid for every two people. Then you have a population that, is decreasing, and it kind of makes more sense to, hang on to more people. I mean, there's a whole bunch. So let me ask you this, because obviously great story for you to find. How should this public debate kind of happen? Because in the past, it used to be experts going on cable and then eventually winding up in a vote in some kind of special election. Nowadays, we have social media. People can put LOL, winky face, save the pigs, and that's someone's opinion. So what does public debate look like nowadays?
Gosh, well, as you suggest, it takes all kinds of forms. I think if any lawyers listening to this, what are the legal possibilities here? As this article implied, if this pig brain, or maybe someday a human brain, is conscious to some level, yet being used in these medical experiments, what kind of protections does it have? Is it still a being that would have legal rights or protections, right? It reminds me in a way of the terrible dilemma in debating about abortions, right? And at what point is the baby a fully legal human being versus not, right? I mean, it's sort of that same nasty, difficult web of conflicting ideas, and it's a knot. It's a real Gordian knot here.
and actually, I just looked it up. I didn't know this, but Ralph, if you remember last year, I believe we mentioned something about a gentleman who volunteered to be the first ever head transplant, where he had muscular dystrophy and was severely handicapped, and said that he would kind of his head and his brain, everything worked fine. Body, his life expectancy was very, very short. And that was supposed to happen this year. This year, an Italian team was supposed to work for like 48 hours straight to transplant someone's head onto a donor body. He's since pulled out. I just Googled it, looked it up. He since said, I don't want to do it anymore. So I don't blame him whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the same kind of conversation we're having now. Being able to keep the brain alive for a little bit longer, that does open the possibilities of, hey, full body transplants.
Yeah. It's all getting. It's just. I think
decades away. Honestly, decades away. That's what I feel like we're at right now with medical technology compared to decades ago to decades ahead. We're not that far from this being not routine but possible.
Well, yeah, and as you were speaking, I was thinking it's sort of this pattern: science fiction to science possible to science fact.
Absolutely.
And it's just, where are we on that continuum with each of these things is so tantalizing. But that story it obviously grabbed me for a number of reasons.
I'm glad it did. Now
it's interesting.
Right, yeah. And now this next story, I always like this because certain parts of technology, we talk about them here on the show all the time, and I feel like they get blown out of proportion because people are excited. One of them, I just saw an article today, and Ralph, I'm sure that you know about cord cutters. The idea that you no longer have cable, you get all your entertainment through the internet. Right. There's an article that came out today that said that since 2004, actually, real quick, let's do a little informal poll here. So I'm sure that you've seen, this past year was the worst year for cord cutters, and the cable companies are frightened and blah, blah, blah. You've seen those articles, correct?
Sure.
Right. Overall, how many cord cutters do you think there are, just in the millions? Just, from
in
all
the United
hype,
States?
Yeah, in the United States alone. From all the hype, all the articles.
Population of 300 million, roughly, right? The USA now.
Right. Well, let's put it this way. There are currently 90 million cable subscribers. currently, right now. How
Okay.
many do you think, since 2004, how many do you think cut the cord?
I'm going to guess it's lower than we might think based on the implications of
Mm-hmm.
coverage. So I'm going to say 20, maybe 20 million have cut.
Not even close. Let me drink and take a sip of my coffee here, and then I'll tell you.
Yeah, yeah. This is good.
Yeah. 3 million, 3.4
3 million.
million.
That's it?
See,
Well, they must all be in Portland, Oregon, because my kids have all done this.
see, but that's the thing where it's like it gets so much news coverage. You think,
Yes.
wow, this is really getting traction, and
Yeah.
then you realize it's like what 2-3% of the entire equation. And I bring this up because it happens with electric cars, it happens with
Yep.
cord cutting, and in some cases, it happens with green energy. So that's why, kind of put this into context, but also just kind of say there's a long way to go and to keep your sites grounded, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's you're right about that perception thing. And in a way, you're right. This applies to the whole world of solar technology because sometimes you get these over enthusiastic articles. Now,
like-
this one coming up, our next story, which is titled Bright Future for Solar Technology, is from Science Daily. And the source is from an announcement from the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology Graduate University. So that's the source. And again, it's in a direction that they're looking at to change solar panel technology. They're not saying it's here now and ready to go and all that sort of thing, but it is interesting, and
Right.
it may breathe much more viability into the future of solar panels, as it were, because of its dramatic reduction in cost. But here's the story. Here's a little summary. They said, new all inorganic. If you heard that rattling sound, that's my dog shaking her leash, and now she's leaving the room.
Way to make an exit. I like it.
Something caught her attention outside. Now she's running downstairs. Anyway, so here it is. Summary is new, all inorganic perovskite. I hope I'm saying that right. It's Perovskite. Perovskite. I Googled it and had listened to the pronunciation, so I hope I have that right. Perovskite.
That's right. Yeah.
Solar cells. So new, all inorganic perovskite. Solar cells tackle three key challenges in solar cell technology: efficiency, stability, and cost. Now, define this perovskite: a yellow, brown, or grayish-black mineral consisting of an oxide of calcium and titanium, and sometimes containing rare earth elements, is one definition I found. Now, this is also a long story, but I think it's a good one for us to dig into. So it starts off by saying harnessing energy from the sun, which emits immensely powerful energy from the center of our solar system, is one of the key targets for achieving a sustainable energy supply. Well, of course. Light energy can be converted directly into electricity using electrical devices called solar cells. Again, we all know that. To date, most solar cells are made of silicon, a material that is very good at absorbing light, but silicon panels are expensive to produce. Scientists have been working on an alternative made from perovskite structures. True perovskite, a mineral found in the earth, is composed of calcium, titanium, and oxygen in a specific molecular arrangement. Materials with that same crystal structure are called perovskite structures. And perovskite structures work well as the light harvesting active layer of a solar cell because they absorb light efficiently, but are much cheaper than silicon. They can also be integrated into devices using relatively simple equipment. For instance, they can be I love this part. Get ready for this. For instance, they can be dissolved in a solvent and spray coated directly onto the substrate. Ding, 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 ding. Very interesting, right?
Right.
Materials made from perovskite structures could potentially revolutionize solar cell devices, but they have a severe drawback. So here comes the reality check, okay? They are often very unstable, deteriorating on exposure to heat. Well, that's obviously a problem because panels are up on your roof, right? This has hindered their commercial potential. Now, the Energy Materials and Surface Sciences Unit at the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology Graduate University, led by Professor Yabing, I hope I'm saying that right, the last name is spelled simply QI, has developed devices using a new perovskite material that is stable, efficient, and relatively cheap to produce, paving the way for their use in solar cells of tomorrow.
And actually, that's a great place to stop because we're going to head on over to commercial break. So everyone, thank you for tuning into Computer America. We are talking about solar and, hey, a great new technology. Let's hope we see it soon. And with Ralph Bond, everyone, we'll be right back. More Computer America right after this.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And I actually have to go draw a winner. So we're going to finish up the story with Ralph Bond. He continues on with us. He is our science and technology trends correspondent. And yeah, we're going to wrap up the story. And then afterwards, I think we're going to give away a prize from Logitech. So Ralph, if you would, continue with the story. And yeah, let's talk solar.
All right, you got it. And I'm always excited about the prizes, especially from Logitech, using my Logitech wireless mouse as we speak, and many other Logitech products. So great stuff. But anyway, let's finish up the story. And at the beginning of the show, you made a comical thing about butchering pronunciation of names and so forth. Here comes a couple.
Well. Yeah, we do it very well.
We mean well, though, but we are transparent. We don't try to fake the pronunciation and pass it off. We explain, I think that's what it is, and we spell it out sometimes when we have to. So here comes a couple of them. But picking up on this story about this advanced research on solar panels may be made out of this perovskite. Boy, it's Friday, isn't it? Perovskite material. But anyway, it says here, their work was recently published in an outlet of publication called Advanced Energy Materials. Now, postdoctoral scholars, here's where the butchering comes in, Dr. Jia, J-I-A, Liang, this one's pretty easy, L-I-A-N-G, and Dr. Zonghao, Z-O-N-G-H-A-O, last name L-I-U. How would you do L-I-U, Ben? What do you think? Li?
L-I-U? Yeah, probably just Lou.
Okay, we'll go with Lou. That's easy. Made major contributions to this work. This material has several key features. First, it's completely inorganic, an important shift because organic components are usually not thermostable and degrade under heat. Since solar cells can get very hot in the sun, heat stability is crucial. By replacing the organic parts with inorganic materials, the researchers made the perovskite. God, I said it. I was doing okay earlier. Now I can't say it. Perovskite solar cells much more stable. Here's a quote. The solar cells are almost unchanged after exposure to light for 300 hours, says Dr. Zhongguo Liu, an author of the papers we said before. Goes on to say all inorganic perovskite solar cells tend to have lower light absorption than organic / inorganic hybrids, however. This is where the second feature comes in. Now, the Okinawa researchers doped their new cells with manganese in order to improve their performance. Manganese changes the crystal structure of the material, boosting its light harvesting capacity. And here comes a quote from Dr. Liu. It says, just like when you add salt to a dish to change its flavor, when we add manganese, it changes the properties of the solar cell. Then it goes on. We'll wrap this up because I know this is a really long article here. Thirdly, in these solar cells, the electrodes that transport current between the solar cells and external wires are made of carbon rather than the usual gold. Ding, ding, ding. Such electrodes are significantly cheaper and easier to produce, in part because they can be printed directly onto the solar cells. So you can see one of the cost-saving potentials here. Fabricating gold electrodes, on the other hand, requires high temperatures and specialized equipment such as a vacuum chamber. There are still a number of challenges to overcome before perovskite solar cells become commercially viable as silicon solar cells. For example, where perovskite solar cells can last for 1 or 2 years, silicon solar cells can last and work for 20 years. So there's more work that needs to be done, right, guys? Key and his colleagues continue to work on these new cells, efficiency and durability, and are also developing a process of fabricating them on a commercial scale. Now, the article ends with this, given how quickly the technology has developed since the first perovskite solar cell was reported in 2009, the future of these new cells looks bright. So it's a possibility. It's not a here and now, but a very interesting possible future for solar panels.
Right. And let's see, the University of, the Energy Materials and Surface Sciences unit at the Okinawa Institute. So Japanese, and it's kind of cool that we see some research coming out of Japan, because much of the research and much of the solar activity actually comes out of China lately. And China has really been killing it when it comes to solar. So
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
And then also Germany, by the way, because the Germans have been very, very adventurous. There's an outfit called Solar World, which actually has a plant here in Hillsboro, Oregon, where I'm speaking to you from. And they're real cutting edge, along with the Chinese as well. Yeah.
Although I hear so many people get upset that we're putting so much energy into, no pun intended, so much energy and effort into solar and wind and things like that, when everyone claims that something, it's like salt nuclear reactor or something like that. The nuclear, everyone feels, or at least a lot of people online feel, that it's a missed opportunity, that we're not, investing in it. But hey, one Chernobyl, one 3 Mile Island, and everyone runs away. So what are you gonna do?
No, you make a good point. You really do.
So with that, everyone, we're actually going to go ahead and do our winner for our contest brought to you by Logitech. That's right. So let's go ahead and get our music going. There we go. I like it. Much better. So this is beautiful. So this week's winner for Logitech and winning the prize, it's a marathon mouse. It runs for like 3 years, 1 AA battery. It's great. The winner is Jennifer Jackson. There we go. Jennifer Jackson. There you go. Don't have an applause. Yay. There we go. So Jennifer Jackson, all she had to do was to subscribe to Computer America on YouTube. And she listens to us in Elyria. Hey, mispronouncing things. I do it very well. Elyria, Ohio. and there you go. So we're going to go ahead. We have her email. We're going to contact her, say that congratulations, you're the winner, and we'll put her in touch with Logitech. But hey, if you want to be next week's Jennifer, all you have to do is head on over to our website and sign up for the contest. You can't win if you don't enter. So, and to the thousands of users who, of course, have already entered, thank you so much. And hey, we could be calling your name live on the air here next week. Check back. Hey, check back. So there we go. Story number 3. Obviously, 40 minutes into the show, 3 stories in. We're doing good. We are on pace, as is our usual thing. So, but I don't want to skip over story number 4 because, VR, kind of like I said with all the other overblown, overhyped technology. But VR is one that I've tried, I really like, and I hope it's not overblown because it can be fun. So let's not skip story number 4 and let's talk VR.
Yeah, no, this is a fun story. I agree. It comes from The Verge, a story by Nick Statt. And the headline is Oculus. Of course, the Oculus Rift VR goggles, their technology. So the title is Oculus is developing an immersive theater virtual reality experience with real actors. So this is a fun hybrid kind of thing going on. And that's why I jumped on this story and thought this is pretty cool. So here's the story. It says Oculus VR is developing an immersive theater experience to debut next year that will feature real-world actors who perform in virtual reality using motion capture. Oh, there's a lot of fun things going on.
And before we even get started, I'm not sure if you're a huge fan of Futurama. Have you ever seen it?
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah, I know of it. I haven't seen all the episodes,
right?
But I know what you're talking about.
Well, way back in the early seasons, there's this thing called the holophone, and it could make images. Kind of like a recorder, but it could make images. And long story short, one of the episodes focused on, actually it's like the end of season 5 now that I remember it. But anyways, it was like Fry, the main character, was making costumes and making the set while actors were strutting around, actually doing the actions of the play. So for any Futurama fans out there, it immediately came to mind that hey, from 2007 to now, hey, we can finally do it.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole implication of this story about the hybriding or the mixing, if you will, of virtual reality with real actors and in environments, it just kind of keeps melting the barrier between fantasy, imagination, and reality. I don't know. I can't quite find the right words, but that's another one of these great trends, right?
Honestly, the right word should be augmented reality. So I'm kind of interested why this is virtual reality still.
That's an excellent point you just made about augmented reality. And in fact, we'll get back to the story, but I can't resist kind of soapboxing a moment on one of the things that fascinates me, because we talk about trends, right? Is at least in the developed world where we are so blessed to have all this technology and you and I have access to amazing computer capabilities and the internet and on and on and on, is what's the redefinition of what is reality? What's real? How is my immersive experience interacting with other people in a virtual world? Is it for young people growing up in this from day one and more in the future? Might their perception of what's real and not, what you and I think of as real versus everything on the computer is not real, is no longer that anymore. It's kind of merging. I can't find the right words, but I think you get where I'm going.
The only thing I can think of, and something that really stands out to me, was when I was first growing up, the idea that your friends are the people that you physically shake their hand, you actually hang out with them. And the idea of having friends on the internet made you kind of a loser because they aren't really your friends. I think that has gone by the wayside, where people can have really deep and meaningful friendships and never meet the person, but they can message them, they can send them pictures, they can talk to them. But friends online is now a thing. Whereas, even 20 years ago, friends, like, how can he be your friend if you've never met him? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's real. And we could even take it a step further, the idea of having a deep, meaningful, and sustained relationship with a non-human AI computer, right?
I mean, right.
Here you go. Here you go. Anyway, back to the story.
Sure. Go for it. No,
again,
great tangent. I like it.
yeah, it was fun. So Oculus VR, let's reestablish here a little bit. Oculus VR is developing an immersive theater experience to debut next year that will feature real-world actors who perform in virtual reality using motion capture. The experience is being billed as indie game Journey meets interactive theater show Sleep No More, according to Yelena Rasitsky, I hope I'm saying that right, an executive producer of Experiences. There's an interesting job title, right? Executive producer of Experiences at Oculus, who detailed the project in an interview with CNET. The central idea is to use trained actors who perform live while viewers interact with them from the comfort of their homes, with everyone using Oculus Rift headsets to enter into and experience the shared world. Oculus hopes that blending the benefits of immersive theater with the unique experimental benefits only VR can provide might be a winning combination that could encourage more consumers, developers, and artists to invest in VR as a form of entertainment and artistic expression. There's a quote here from Rashinsky, the Oculus Rift executive, who says, "We're really interested in how do you create that experience of live actors without needing to be in a site-specific location," she told CNET. "It's a way to scale." And then the article goes on saying, notably, immersive theater is only getting bigger with HBO. You're going to love this. Get ready. With HBO turning a multi-acre farm on the outskirts of Austin, Texas, into a real-life version of the fictional Sweetwater town from Westworld to promote its second season. What? Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's cool. Goes on to say the format popularized by the New York City productions like Sleep No More and San Francisco-based The Speakeasy places actors with scripted narratives into a living, breathing environment where guests are free to interact with and become a part of the story. Very Westworld-like, right? Immersive theater has, up until now, typically dabbled in areas like historical fiction and horror, and the latter born from the evolution of the haunted houses. Guests seek out ever more elaborate setups and psychologically taxing experiences. Now, Oculus's model could combine the best of both worlds by giving guests an experience only real human actors can provide, but in a setting and with the freedom of access only VR is capable of. It's an interesting concept, but it sounds like we won't know more about how the project develops until later this year. Concludes by saying, still, Facebook is hosting its annual F8 Developer Conference in San Jose, California, starting tomorrow. The story was posted on the 30th of April, by the way. And it may dedicate some time during the keynote to detailing how this immersive theater VR combination could work and what it might look like. So you'll need to do a little research to find out if, in fact, they did talk about this at their conference or not. I don't have that information at hand.
Right. So, and it's funny how we did an interview on the 4th of May here on the show with Pure Imagination Studios, and I think it's something very similar where they're using virtual reality and they're using kind of a guided tour kind of system. They set everything up in a mall, in kind of a bigger area within the mall in California, actually, and they Ralph, you may know the franchise Alien.
Oh yeah, sure.
Sigourney Weaver, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they put you in the virtual body of a Marine. They kind of give you a gun and a virtual reality headset with no cord on it, and you kind of maneuver yourself through this obstacle of catwalks and stairs and things like that, shooting aliens along the way, all in virtual reality. So. And I guess it's like a safety thing and like a guided tour kind of thing. So there are, actual people there, but yeah, they've seen great success. I can only see that, getting to more and more places because again, virtual reality, it's a very place shifted. You create a new reality, so you can do it anywhere. It doesn't have to be in one spot. So, hey, San Jose, California, and anywhere else, I'm sure, in the near future. Pretty cool.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But we have about 10 minutes left, and I wanted to get to some of these other stories. And this one kind of combines story number 5 in it as well. So I think we're going to talk about that, but at the same time, do story number, I believe it's number 7, with Amazon selling a domesticated robot. So story number 5, video, go check it out. But
check out the video, yeah. And I want to do a shout out for my good friend, fellow tech enthusiast and cousin of my wife in Medford, Oregon, Bill Hatch. Billy, thank you for sending this story to me. That's number 5, everybody. Go out to the show notes. It's a great video, that kind of a compilation of some of the most astonishing robots.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, just blow your mind. But with that said, let's go down to story 7. So here we go. Scrolling down.
So
with
robots
my
are
Logitech
getting
mouse.
better. Yeah. So robots are getting better and better. And at the same time, hey, they may be getting better in your own home. So
yeah,
long
that's right.
gone are the days of the Roomba getting lost. So
yes. That's funny. We tried a Roomba once and we returned it, but I think our floor plan was just too weird for it to deal with. But anyway, story number 7 from Extreme Tech, a story by Ryan Whitwam, and the title is Amazon may announce a domestic robot this year. They might. And I thought, okay, that's cool. Amazon, big name, of course, all that good stuff. Here's a story. It says several tech giants are trying to get artificial intelligence into your home by way of smart speakers, like I have my Echo and that sort of stuff. But Amazon reportedly wants to take it a step further. Sources claim that Amazon is working on a home robot that will be unveiled later this year. The project is codenamed Vesta, after the Roman goddess of the hearth, as in fireplace, right? And it comes from the same top flight hardware division known as Lab 126 that brought us the Echo speakers, Fire tablets, and the Fire phone. And then, as a little tongue-in-cheek, the next sentence says, okay, the last one was a fluke, meaning the Fire phone. But Amazon has high hopes for home robotics. The idea of a domestic robot should be familiar to everyone. Let's go back to the Jetsons. Remember that cartoon? Well, you don't.
Rosie,
you're too young.
Of course.
You're very good, Ben. I'll tip my hat to you there. The idea of a domestic robot should be familiar to everyone. They've existed in science fiction for decades. The possibility that you could have a robot around the house to help out is certainly tantalizing, but it's unclear what Amazon's robot would be able to do. Engineers are reportedly working on Vesta prototypes with advanced computer vision similar to that you find in self-driving cars. The robots scan the environment and maneuver around obstacles to navigate your home. I wish I could do that. Sources who spoke to Bloomberg suggest that the robot might be able to follow you around and act as a mobile Alexa-powered speaker. But that hardly seems like a sufficient reason to have a robot. An Echo Dot smart speaker costs less than $50. In fact, I got one on sale for $39. You can just plug more of them around your house, which we're beginning to do ourselves here in our home. And then it goes on to say there are a few hints in Amazon's recent engineering hires. The company has sought out experts in computer vision, sensor design, and general robotics. Amazon does have a separate Amazon robotics subsidiary that had developed machines that can pick up and move objects, but sources say the project managed by Lab 126 is developing a different technology. It's a consumer angle instead of one to improve warehouse operations. No one has made a successful general purpose home robot, but there have been attempts going back many years. And I love this part of the article because it's sort of a throwback to some history that I know you and and Craig have mentioned before. There was a $1,500 robot called Hero in the 1980s that could roll around and speak via speech synthesis. And the author says, yeah, not very enticing. And then there was the $500 Topo, T-O-P-O robot from the same era that could carry items in a small mechanized arms. Several companies have shown off robots recently, for example, the Asus Zenbo, Z-E-N-B-O. Few have made it past the tech demo stage. By far the most successful domestic robot is the Roomba, which you mentioned at the outset of this story, which only vacuums your floor. If Vesta project survives, Amazon could begin testing the device in homes in late 2018. A full consumer launch could happen as early as 2019. So we'll see. It's a fun thing to think about.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it's very almost Google-esque the way that Amazon seems to be approaching this. I guess when you have untold amounts of money that your investors tell you to spend and create the next best thing, I mean, the research in the department, like the thing I'm actually kind of curious about is that we've seen robots in the home pitched before. And Ralph, do you remember kind of where that was really popular, like where that idea is still popular today? Japan, correct.
Yeah. For assisting people, I'm thinking about for assisting the elderly and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
You know, people with disabilities and that kind of stuff. And that's where I go, I'm right with you there. I think if Amazon creates a robot that could help not only remind people of their medications, but bring it to them and so forth. I don't know. All those kinds of things are of interest to me. Your
brain and mine, we must be in a jar somewhere floating together with the other pigs because, it's a thing where. It's a thing where Amazon is looking to get into the medication market. They're actually looking to deliver people's drugs directly to their home.
Right.
And if let me just lay out a crazy future that Amazon, if you're listening, completely steal because this is going to be great. If people could live in their own home, have an Amazon robot that will be able to not just follow you around, but be able to pick up Amazon packages from your front doorstep. Imagine that.
Yes.
And then be able to put away your groceries that you have Amazon deliver, that you have your medication delivered, and the robot would, set out for you. Essentially, this robot would interact with Amazon and other Amazon services to be your live-in assistant. That's what I'm seeing.
And going back to earlier conversation we were having about the whole idea of friendship and so forth, I know this may seem kind of creepy, but there's a lot of shut-ins and lonely older folks and so forth that to have some kind of robotic companion that has enough AI and speech capabilities to say, how you feeling? Are you okay? Do you want me to call your daughter? I mean, just things that could be a companion kind of thing too. And I know some people have kind of the squirmy wormies about thinking about an inanimate object being a companion, but I don't. I think and the Japanese are very on board with this, with their elderly care and robots and stuff like that. Part of it is to fight off loneliness and isolation. So something to think about there.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that we skipped over story number 5, and everyone go to the show notes, check it out. But I didn't watch the video, but I think I've probably seen every video that's consistent of it.
Yeah.
It was a Boston Dynamics and their robot-looking dog thing that they are pitching to the military to carry packs in the field. I know that you say that inanimate objects acting, that we could kind of sympathize with that. But whenever you see that video of Boston Dynamics, kind of robot-looking dog, slip on a banana or get kicked in the side, everyone's first reaction is, don't kick that dog.
Yeah, yes. You immediately you anthropomorphize the thing into a being we can't help ourselves. And that's kind of good and bad at the same time. I don't know.
Right. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's like kicking a printer. I mean, it's really just that, it has sensors that knows, hey, I'm off balance. I have to calibrate.
Yeah.
But, and I feel like as much as we say, don't form attachments to robots, if you make them lifelike enough, it's just going to happen. It's the only thing that can happen. So Amazon.
Hey, I know we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to say one thing away from the notes.
Go for it.
This week's announcement, this week's disclosure or leak, I guess it is, from Microsoft about them developing controllers for Xbox One.
I don't think it was a leak. I think they did a full press event with their Xbox One. Yeah.
I salute to Microsoft for doing that. I think it's what I've seen of it. I've seen some pictures and some descriptions and so forth of the equipment, allowing you to interface a traditional joystick or other foot pedal things, other things like this that'll help people with not only literally disabled, like maybe they only have one hand or something like this, but older folks. People like me, I want a game, but I just don't have kind of the dexterity anymore. And if these things can help me and people who are truly disabled, salute to Microsoft for thinking about this and doing something about it. I just think that's terrific. I love when technology is used for that kind of purpose, to enable these people to have the entertainment and fun that all the able-bodied gamers get to have.
Right, yeah, and for anyone out there listening, I know that there are people out there that have these kinds of things. It's called the Xbox Adaptive Controller. You can go check it out. It's a great story, even a feel-good story. Go check it out. But Ralph, the music means that we are just flat out of time, and I want to say thank you so much for making the show another great one. So, with that being said, Ralph, if people want to find out more about you and what you do, how to keep tabs with you, how do they do that?
It's super easy. Just get your Google out or your search engine and just do Wix, W-I-X, and then my name, Ralph Bond. It'll take you right to my Wix-based little website and so forth, and you can learn more about me. And of course, Computer America, that's a place to find out the recordings of these shows.
Yep, and also we have a link to your website as well right there in the show notes.
Cool.
So everyone, Ralph included, thank you so much for joining us here on Computer America, and another great week and another week of shows gone. Be sure to tune in next week as we, of course, lots of great guests, and you can find out who we have on every single day over at our website. And Ralph, real quick, Deadpool 2.
Oh, I can't wait.
Can't wait. So great answer, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.